I want you all to see something real quick before I put this thing back together. So, very typical port job, right, of what somebody without a lathe would do, I think. Okay? So, now, they may do it different, sure, blah, blah, blah. But this is pretty standard stuff. So, the transfers there, I raised them to 121. Okay? Both sides, 121. The exhaust is at 101.5. So we got, we've got 20 degrees of blowdown, basically. And the intake, here's the problem. That intake floor, sure, I roughed it up and everything, blah, blah, blah. But you can't do anything with that intake floor because you're right there at your impulse. You're right there. So now maybe it wouldn't be a big deal and to cut into that impulse line. I don't know, it may not be. But if it is a big deal, the only way to drop that intake floor is to drop the entire cylinder. Okay? Because as it is, we've only got, on the intake, we've got 75 degrees. 75.3. There's the numbers of what it turned out to. 75.3. We got 101.5 on the exhaust, which is good, right? We got 121 on the transfers, so that gives us our 20 degrees of blowdown. But more importantly, there, the 46 degrees of crankcase pressure, right? I think that we can definitely go much further with those transfers. So this is what I'm calling a typical base gasket delete port job. It's a typical base gasket delete port job. All I did was delete the base gasket and then get these numbers where they are. So I'm about ready to put it back together. And I'm doing a muffler mod, right? Muffler right here. I got it all emptied out and stuff. But yeah, the point of this is to showcase what a basic port job will do and then compare it to what a machined port job will do. Yeah. Anyways, so there you have it. Okay, guys, so this is it. First iteration of Kenny Wayne Shepherd. Blue on black, baby. Tears on a river, push on, shove. It don't mean much. Pretty cool, huh? I dig it, yeah. So, black gas tank, black top covers. The rest of it's all untouched blue. Totally dig it. So, got a nice muffler mod on there. But, it's just standard stuff. Very typical, right? That's a 3/4 inch EMT. That's what I typically use. If I need more flow than that, then I would add another one or cut a hole in the front of it or whatever. This is a race saw, so I will end up having just a boom, big hole right in the front of the exhaust. But I might take this muffler and actually use it on my OEM steel 361. So, anyways, but this is the very first iteration, and basically what I'm trying to do is showcase how this saw would run with a very typical port job. And then I will go back and do something else. My guess is a machined port job. I see, with my channel, I've got to be able to test everything, so I don't know how I'm going to do that. For now, I'm just going to run this saw. I'm just going to take it out, and I'm going to run it, and we're going to see how it does. And fingers crossed, I haven't started this yet at all. Okie dokie artichokes. This will be my very first attempt at even trying to start the saw. fuel. Meh. I mean, meh. It's nice. It's pretty strong. Wants to rev more than it wants to torque. For sure. That is, it seemed happiest whenever I was tuning it for about 13.6 free spin. About 13,600. I never touched that oiler. It was all the way up. It was oiling, but I don't know. Initial thoughts, lots more work. My guess is if you put a different carburetor on this saw as it sits, you know, you just simply put threw a different carburetor on it and tuned it up, it would be a world of difference. Because that carburetor, I mean, these things are known to have too small of a carb. Yeah, I've heard that. But I have never heard that the design is backwards of what it should be. No one's ever told that to me. Maybe that was a mistake from this Chinese clone saw, but I doubt it. I bet you that's the way it's supposed to be, because everybody complains about the carbs on these. Carbs got to go, right? And at least from what I've heard, you know, I mean, it runs good, but she just ain't getting enough fuel. Got a different carb in the mail. It's already been purchased. Got it coming. We'll throw it on there and see what kind of difference it makes. That'll be the very next step, I guess, right there. But, I mean, this is a stock C83 chain, and we can test it to see how close it is to the 572 XP I've ran in this log. I'm sorry, not 572, the 372, the Farm Hack 372 clone saw, the Johnson Red, you know, but it feels significantly slower. All right, so more work needs to be done on this saw. Faux show, faux shizzle, my nizzle. So, but anyways, first step, like if just looking at it from, you know, not a race saw standpoint, it's a 361 clone saw, and I've ported it. How does it run? Pretty good, you know, pretty good. I'm just so spoiled with some real runners, you know what I mean? Would I put this in the same category as a ported Echo 620? Shit, no. I probably wouldn't even put it in the same category as a stock Echo 620. And that's just because of torque. Now, if all you're going to do is use it as a groundsman saw, like, you know, like trimming, you know, limbing the trees and stuff, you'd never put more than a 20-inch bar on it, then yeah, it'd probably be pretty great, and it might even be better than an Echo 620, but I doubt it. Long ways to go. I'm not saying that the MS361 isn't as good as or better than the Echo 620. I'm just saying this right here, so far, lackluster in my opinion. There you have it. For what it's worth, bros. More to come. Yeah, so that's what happens whenever you're spoiled by really, really good saws. In someone else's hands, that 361 clone with a basic port job, all it has, remember guys, all it has is a base gasket delete, muffler mod, and just I raised the transfers to give me, I mean, common people would be like, oh, 20 degrees of blowdown, you know. But I didn't do much more than that. It's a very basic port job, but I find that this is very typical, a very typical port job of many people. Somebody might get defensive and go, oh, I polish the exhaust really well, or I open the transfers up, or I get this from the intake. I get it, but I don't think it's going to be too much different than this right here. Might be better, sure. Might be better than what I did here. Might be worse. Yeah. So this cylinder right here, I think, and this is my first time opening one up and everything. I'm learning. But I think this is very classic of just because you remove that base gasket and it gives you your 20,000 squish or right there at it, it does not mean that it will not massively benefit from machine work. I mean, is this thing going to outperform a stocker? Bound to. I mean, it feels definitely more powerful than the OEM 361 that I have. And before you guys go, well, why don't you just test it? All of this stuff takes work. I've been working on that saw all day long. This is my third or fourth video on it. Due time, okay? So all this stuff will happen, and I look forward to testing this thing in multiple different setups, because every time that I do that, what I learn about that saw is that it is going to help me with my end goal of ultimately creating a full tilt race saw out of it. But as it is, I mean, that Echo 590, you saw that. It put the hurt on it, you know. Both of them have been ported. Both of them have, you know. The MS361, I have no doubts whatsoever that it is going to be a superior performer when you find the right combination of things. I know that it needs a different carburetor on there. I know this. All right, that's going to change everything. I also found out, at least with this, with this Farmer Tech cylinder, it needs machine work, because the only way to get that intake down low enough is to machine it, because it has that impulse hole right there. Now, I guess it's possible that doesn't really matter. It'll still get impulse if you cut into that. I don't know. But as it is right now, I don't want to cut that out, because I'm afraid that it'll screw things up and it won't get proper impulse. I mean, you can always get impulse just from the case, just drill a hole and stuff like that. You can get it from a different spot in the cylinder itself. You know, there's workarounds, but, you know, then it becomes, you're doing an awful lot to the saw to get it to where it performs well. Whereas that 590, base cut, didn't cut the squish, nothing. So, see what I'm saying? I'm like, yes, that MS361 clone and the OEM 361, I am certain, can be excessively good performers, no doubt. But it seems like it's going to take a lot to get it there, a lot more than it should. So, see. Anywho, all right. That's enough for this video, and more on this chainsaw in the future.